The streets of England are ablaze, both literally and figuratively, as the nation grapples with a surge of violence that has spread like wildfire. What began as scattered protests has morphed into a nationwide crisis, with anti-migrant sentiment fueling some of the most severe unrest seen in recent memory. As tensions boil over, the very fabric of British society is being tested, with towns and cities across the country becoming battlegrounds where protesters clash violently with law enforcement. This is not just about political dissent, it's a harrowing descent into chaos that threatens to tear communities apart. The epicenter of today's chaos was Rutter, South Yorkshire, where a mob of far-right extremists stormed the Holiday Inn Express, a hotel currently housing asylum seekers. The situation quickly spiraled out of control as the crowd broke through police barriers and set fires outside the property. The hotel, situated on the northern outskirts of this post-industrial town, became a flashpoint for the anger that has been simmering across the country. Officers in riot gear formed a human shield in front of the building, but their efforts were met with a barrage of missiles and pieces of wood hurled by the protesters. One officer, severely injured in the melee, had to be carried away by colleagues, a stark reminder of the perilous situation facing law enforcement. In Middlesbrough, the scene was no less volatile. Over 300 protesters, many chanting "We want our country back," marched through the city center. The demonstration quickly descended into violence, with clashes between protesters and police becoming increasingly intense. Several people were arrested, and police dogs were deployed to maintain order. The streets of Middlesbrough bore the scars of the unrest, with broken windows, upturned bollards, and police vehicles obstructed by the crowd. The city, like so many others across England, has become a stage for a bitter and dangerous confrontation between those who feel their country is slipping away and those tasked with maintaining peace. Greater Manchester also saw its share of violence, particularly in Bolton, where protesters pushed against a human barricade of police officers. The clashes led to the implementation of Section 60 and Section 60AA, granting police additional powers to stop and search individuals and to remove face coverings that might conceal identities. These measures, though necessary to curb the violence, have only added to the tension in a community already on edge. In Sheffield, disturbing footage surfaced online, showing masked individuals attacking a man draped in an England flag. The attack, brutal and senseless, is a chilling example of the lawlessness that has taken hold in some areas. The violence was not limited to these hotspots. Across the country, from Hull to Liverpool, Bristol to Belfast, rioters have left a trail of destruction. Shops have been looted, cars set ablaze, and innocent bystanders caught in the crossfire. The scale of the unrest is unprecedented, and it shows no signs of abating. The recent stabbing of 3 young girls in Southport by Axelmugen Rutter has only added fuel to the fire, with some protesters using the tragedy as a rallying cry for their cause. Rutter, a 17-year-old accused of murdering the girls and attempting to kill 10 others, has become a symbol for those who blame the government's immigration policies for the country's woes. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, addressing the nation, condemned the violence in no uncertain terms. "This is not protest, it is organized violent thuggery," he declared, adding that such actions have no place on British streets. Starmer's words, however, have done little to quell the anger. His decision to take a family holiday in the midst of the crisis has been met with fierce criticism from political opponents, who argue that the Prime Minister should be at the helm, guiding the country through this turbulent period. Tory leadership hopeful Robert Jenrick was particularly scathing, calling the decision completely wrong and accusing Starmer of abandoning his responsibilities at a critical moment. The unrest has also drawn sharp criticism from anti-racism groups and public figures like Brendan Cox, whose wife, MP Jo Cox, was murdered by a far-right extremist in 2016. Cox has described the scenes in Rotherham as an attempt to murder the men, women, and children inside by burning them alive. His words reflect the deepening divisions within the UK, where the lines between protest and outright violence have become increasingly blurred. As Britain teeters on the edge of further chaos, the nation faces a stark choice: allow this wave of violence to continue, or take decisive action to restore order and address the underlying issues driving this unrest. The images of burning buildings, injured officers, and terrified residents are a sobering reminder of the dangers of unchecked anger and hatred. As the country watches in horror, one thing is clear: the path to healing will be long and fraught with challenges, but it is a journey that must begin now, before the flames of discord consume all that Britain holds dear.